Can you hear me now?
I got you now, Brian. Go
All
ahead.
right. Thank you. How you doing today?
Good, man. How you doing this morning?
Good. I just wanted to ask you about Chad quickly. I know he hasn't gotten any field goal attempts the last 2 weeks, couple extra points, but how have you kind of seen him respond either on the practice fields or behind the scenes the last few weeks after that Giants miss?
Yeah, no, Chad's done a good job. He showed back up to work after that and really, attacked it at practice, taking every rep, as like a game rep. I think, you watch him in pregame and you watch him hit the ball, even though, like I said, hadn't had a bunch of field goal attempts or anything like that, he's striking the ball well. He's getting down through the ball, keeping his eyes down through the contact. He's doing a really good job. He's responded, like you said, well. I think that's one thing about Chad that you like to see is, you know, he moves on to the next kick. You obviously never want to miss a kick, but you got to have some mental toughness as a kicker. That when you do miss, you can respond and not let that kick waver and bother you going moving forward. And he's done a good job. Obviously in practice and in the games, making the three PATs the other night.
And one other one quickly. I know you guys brought in Christian Ellis over the weekend off waivers. Looks like he plays a lot of special teams. You guys saw him earlier this year. Just what did you kind of see from him that you wanted to bring him into the mix here?
When you watch Christian when he was in Philly, obviously we got to prepare for him everything. He's a good, solid, physical player. Plays with good technique. Things you look for with the fundamentals. In the right position, understanding where he has to be, whether it's the blocking or in coverage using his hands. So it's going to be good getting to work with him this week. Moving forward, obviously getting him into the fold. You can't throw everything, everything you've done it in the game plan at a guy that's just getting here, but got to get him up to speed, meet with him as much as we possibly can, and obviously put him out there and hopefully he does a good job for us, whenever, gets on the field.
Awesome. Thank you, Cam.
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate you.
Next question, Bob Sosi.
Thanks, Steph. Hey, Cam, good morning.
Hey, Bob. Morning.
I want to ask you about the punt block in Pittsburgh. And it seemed, watching that play versus some of the other punt blocks you tend to see where maybe a guy comes off the edge, like Jonathan last year against Indianapolis, or maybe against the Colts 2 years ago where somebody gets kind of turned loose inside. What on that particular play factored into the block by Killebrew against Ty, coming from where he did, seemingly picked up?
Yeah, no, it's a lot of just, he does a good job dipping his shoulder and, and getting around the edge and then reaching for the block point. Obviously for us in the protection standpoint, fundamentally, we've got to make sure we're protecting the inside, striking, sustaining the blocks, and then pushing the guy off the edges. A lot of times you see a lot of punts in general, no different than a quarterback steps up in the pocket off an edge rush. It's the same thing off the edge. You want to make sure that guy goes around the punter and he can't really reach back till they get to the block point. So anytime you get those edge rushers, guys that are really good, whether it's an athletic guy, skill guy, or maybe like a big bulldoze guy, defensive end guy, that's rushing around the edge, kind of like trying to like reach for a quarterback, strip sacks, and those type of things. It's much the same philosophy fundamentally. Inside out, get the guy washing past, running past the block point, or the spot. And that way you're stepping up, or in this case, you're stepping up with the punter swinging his leg, back up to 10 yards. So we just got to do a good job of striking and running the guy around.
I guess unrelated, not sure if these were factors on that play, but in terms of the snap to kick time for a punter, and as well the depth that you guys want your punter at. And I know sometimes you have to adjust if you're punting out of your end zone, for example.
Yeah, so for us, ideally you want to be anything under 205, somewhere in there. As a full snap operation kicks. And some of that can change. Like you said, are you one step in a situation that's critical where you're just trying to make sure you get the ball off right there, kind of like the end of the game situation right there. So there's some situational stuff where the operation time, you want to speed it up because maybe the punt itself doesn't have to be such a flipping field position. You may be in good field position. So there's some factors that will lower that whole operation time as far as the snap to kick and everything there. So, but in a general thing, normal situation throughout the game, somewhere around the 2-0, 205 range, that's, depending on the snapper. Obviously some snappers are faster than others. And then the punters, they want to move themselves usually in that 1-3 to 1-3-4 range.
Okay. And Cam, this is just a question about kind of a retrospective looking back at a previous punter and Ryan Allen's performance in Super Bowl 53 for something else I'm working on. He was certainly a guy that could have been MVP before Julian got that award when you look at how that game played out. Can you go back in your memory, watching that game, watching Chad and describe, what made him effective in that offense to complement your offense or your defense at the time, but particularly, that game?
Yeah, no, Ryan had a great game that game. If you look at it, it's the situational punting that he handled. That is every time we got an opportunity to pin them deep and make them have to drive the whole length of the field, Ryan was able to execute it. Going down there where he's putting the ball, Matt can down it, inside the 5-yard line. So, situationally, he operated very well. He was able to flip the field. I mean, I would like to say he was locked in, for Ryan. Like that day, he couldn't, miss hit a ball. So he was moving well. He was seeing the ball off his foot, and the ball placement and of the football allowed the Gunners to get down there. Obviously Slade had the one tackle over there on JoJo, trying to get vertical, and then we're down the ball inside the 10. So, but it all works together. So the placement of Ryan, putting the football outside the numbers and giving him enough hang time to get to the football. He, like I said, you hit it on the head. He could have been very well the MVP of the game. Being able to maximize the field position. So anytime you situationally get in those situations and you execute that when you're making the offense go 90 yards and you're putting the defense on long fields, it's a very good complementary football, which, that speaks to the specialist for sure.
Cam, thanks. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it, Bob.